Now let's talk about two-point perspective. You're faced with essentially the same choices. The difference now is that we're using two vanishing points instead of one. So if I place my horizon line dead center of the sheet of paper here, like this, and just for the sake of illustrating this, I'm going to place my one vanishing point over here and my other vanishing point over there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the corner that's closest to me and put it dead center between the two vanishing points. Okay, so half the distance, this distance is equal to this distance over here. And the height of the line that I'm drawing will bisect the horizon line exactly in half. So when I draw the line like this, I simply give it an endpoint here, take that measurement, add it onto the top, and give myself an endpoint there. So it's equal distance top and bottom. Excuse me. So now, remember back to our basic rule, your lines can only go in three directions. So with 1 point perspective, the only options I had were parallel to the horizon line, vertical, 90-degree angle to the horizon line, or to the vanishing point. Okay? There are no other positions that I can throw my line. I can't create a brand new point out here. If I've got this going to this vanishing point here, I can't suddenly have this line going to this vanishing point over there. You just can't do that. You can't introduce brand new points. So once you've established your two vanishing points, and once you've established the height of the wall or the corner in relationship to the horizon line, you now have 2 points here, and you've got your two vanishing points. So you basically just have to connect your dots. Right? So if we take from this point down to the vanishing point over here, from this one to the vanishing point, like that, from this end to the vanishing point on this side, and from this side here, this end point at the top to the vanishing point on the left hand side. Then I have to start to make some decisions as to what's the dimension of the box, what's the size of the box. So we've determined that the height is this height, and you can assign any number you want to that, whatever measurement you want. We've determined that the horizon line is half the distance, so we're in the middle of it. Now we have to determine how deep is the box. So you can make it a square by simply taking your ruler on the edge here and you line it up so that it looks like it's a square in perspective. So if I put my line over here, that's a rectangle, right? If I put my line over here, that's a rectangle. So I have to try and find that happy point that says this looks like a square. So now I've created two new brand new points here and here. So again, you're limited to three directions. Straight up and down to the vanishing point on this side, which I've already done. See, the line here is already continuing off to the vanishing point there, so I don't need to repeat that. I only have one option left. From this point here, the only other option I have is to go to this vanishing point over here. There's no other place to go. So that line will crisscross through there. And the same thing with your top line up here. It has to go back to this point here. Now, if I'm looking at this box from above, so let's say this is me, that's my position, and I'm looking at the box like this, which means that I'm looking straight on at this corner here. I've sort of skewed a little bit, but if it was a perfectly square box, my point of view would take it so that through that line, this corner here and this corner here would end up lining up with each other. Because the distance from here, the center of this, across this plane here, this distance here to here is exactly the same as that distance, if it's a square. Okay. If it wasn't a square, it would be longer if I extended the line out here. and that would change that corner point. So in order to find where that point is, all I have to do is take and draw a horizontal line parallel to the horizon line here. And in order to make that accurate, here's where you might have to do a little bit of measurement. You take the distance from the horizon line and you actually measure it on your ruler to this point right here. And so on mine it's 2.6. So I find out where my 2.6 is here, which is right there. I draw that line. I don't even have to draw the line actually. It's sort of redundant. But that gives me my cross point so that now I can go to my vanishing point over here. And that will crisscross right through this line right here in behind. So then when I take this line and draw it straight up and down, this point will now go back to the vanishing point over here, and that once again will crisscross through this back point here. So I can't see this back corner because it's hidden by the front corner right there, making it an equilateral mirrored perspective box. So now if we take this same principle and simply slide the horizon line, so you remember what we did on this one here was we slid the vanishing point over, but if we turn it sideways, the variation on this is that we went with our horizon line here, we raised our horizon line up to this point here. So for this one, the next variation would be to slide the horizon line up slightly in relationship to the line. So if you want to, you can take a blank sheet of paper and put it over top. And just for the sake of consistency, you can draw where that line was, right through there, find the high point and the low point right there. But then slide the horizon line half the distance from where it was here, half the distance up there, put it right about there, and draw your horizon line on. And then put your vanishing points in the exact same spots. So once again, connecting the dots, I'm going from the top and the bottom through to my two vanishing points on either side. Now, if you're paying close attention and you're actually tracing off of your other drawing previously, if you flip your drawings like this, see what happens to the lines? See how the lines are bending up? These lines here are going from this angle to this angle up here. It's because my vanishing points have gone up. Okay. If I slide this down and I line up my horizon line and my center line, so they're in the exact same position, it's going to look like the box is dropping. See how the boxes drop down? So there's a difference between the two drawings, a subtle little difference that changes my point of view on the box. So now if I connect from my top point through to my vanishing point here, once again I'm going to get a subtle little change here in my lines. The lines are going to go from down here like this, they're going to pop up like this. Same thing on this side, it's going from this angle here, it's going to pop up this way. So see when I flip it, see how the lines are fluttering, going up. So again, if I trace off my bottom drawing, you can see where the edge is here, this line right here, and the other edge is over here. So I take those connection points there and go to the opposing vanishing points on either side. That'll then create my box as though I've sort of stood up slightly. I'm looking at it from a slightly different angle. So my horizon line has risen from where I was in this one here. I was looking at this box at half the height, and then suddenly I've stood up, and it's altered my point of view on the box just slightly. So now if I continue with this premise, just tape this on here. I'll take another sheet of paper and lay it over top. Because I've got the cutout area there, you can just lightly see through it to the next box there. If I do the exact same thing, find my center line through here, two endpoints, but this time I'm going to take the horizon line and I'm going to slide it slightly above the box. Now I'm skipping over a point here where I could put the horizon line right on the very edge there, and it'll make the top of the box appear to be flat, but that sort of goes without saying. So what we'll do is we'll do the next variation where we shift it so that we're slightly above the box looking down on it now. So our vanishing points are in the same two positions. And again, continue through with your connect the dots game. Find my endpoints. And where I've created those new lines, I'm going off to my vanishing points. And so my back corner, hidden by the top surface, will actually sit right through there. So now if I take the tape off of this, and the tape off of this one, then line these up. And flip the drawings, animation style. See what's happening? I'm moving up above the box. It's like I'm rising up, because my horizon line is moving up and above the surface of the box. So I'm rising and looking down on it. So now the higher you place your horizon line away from the box, the more you're going to be looking down on it. Now, one of the errors that some people made, I'll just show you this variation here just so you're aware of it, so you can avoid it in the future. And it's a common mistake that some people will make, is let's say we have a box here, and let's say you're drawing all 10 of your boxes all on the same sheet of paper. What some people did was they decided, I'm going to draw a box down here as well. So they draw the corner down like this, and then they go to the vanishing point over here, and then they go to the vanishing point over here, like that, and they find their end point for the top. This, and then they'll cut off their edge, cut off the other edge, and then back to the vanishing points. We'll end up something like that. So what you can see is we've got a little bit of a distorted view down here, where this angle here has gotten a little bit sharp. It's actually smaller than a 90-degree angle. Okay, you can never have, in a two-point perspective drawing, these two lines here can never go sharper than a 90-degree angle. It's impossible. So we have to be very, very careful of that and make sure that at all times, at the very smallest point, that this is a 90-degree angle at all times. So you can basically take a triangle that has a 90-degree angle on it, line it up to this bottom corner here, and where those two lines project off, that will automatically give you where your vanishing points have to be at the very least. Okay? So in this case, the problem here is that the vanishing points are too close together.